Welcome to Martini Time, that happy time of the day when I get to come and talk with you. And quite often I don't know really what to say or what to talk about, and then I just get a little idea, and here I am to see what the idea has to say. And the idea I just wrote down is God is accidental. Or another way of saying this, living the accidental life. Or grace is accidental. But the key word here is accidental, which means unplanned. So living the unplanned life. How is that possible? How is that possible? We live in a very planned society. One of my favorite YouTubes or little pop-ups on Facebook is the overview of traffic in a Asian city where it looks like ants just going blah, 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 blah. And then you look at American traffic and it's all closed by, it's all well planned, lights, everything is planned. And yet so you got what, this is almost like their traffic is unplanned. And yet everybody doesn't hit each other. The more unplanned it is, I know they have a lot of accidents there, but the more unplanned it is, the more it seems to work. It's like an intuitive traffic. Watching Anthony Bourdain's movies, you know, when you get in these Asian cities and you're on these little scooters and you're just going in and out of traffic and no helmets. You know, and it's just an amazing thing to watch an unplanned system versus a planned system. And so God is accidental. So I had the thought, you know, well, looking at my life, none of my plans really worked out. My life is really, the good things that's happened to me have always been accidental. And I'm sure if you look in your own life, you too will discover that everything that's important, everything that has been life-changing, everything that has moved you, everything you've built has been pretty much accidental. A meeting here, a chance meeting here, a chance meeting there, an accident, an unexpected turn. God is accidental. He works by accidents. Not by plan, not by effort, not by control, not by figuring it all out, not by all of this future orientation. Accidents are always in the present moment. Accidents are an accident because they disrupt our plan. That's what an accident is. It disrupts our plan. And and we often find that if that accident didn't happen, I would not have met this person, I would not be here. I would not be who I am today if it were not for that accident, you see. So this living the accidental life, how do we do that, you see? Well, it's certainly not by plan. And it's not even by choice, you see, because we never choose an accident. So accidents are unchosen. That's another meaning of accident. I didn't choose that accident, you see. So what we don't choose, what we don't expect, what we don't plan for, is grace. So grace, God's grace, is accidental, is the idea I'm playing with here. And so living the accidental life is living an unplanned life, and yet we have to plan. I mean, otherwise we'd just be a homeless person lives an unplanned life. The life of a homeless person is an unplanned life. They just go from one bowl of soup to another, like a monk. So a Buddhist monk lives an unplanned life. If they go out to, we don't have any Buddhist monks here, a homeless person would be the closest we have to a Buddhist monk, in the sense that the Buddhist monk, in Asian societies, must go out once a day and beg for his food. And if no one gives him any food, he doesn't eat. So what's an unplanned life? A hitchhiker is an unplanned journey. I hitchhiked across the country twice back in the 50s. Stick out your thumb. You get a ride, you move. You don't get a ride, you don't move. It's an unplanned. Every ride is accidental. Somebody goes by and stops. You don't know who you're going to meet with. You don't know where it's going. Well, you're going in a direction, but it's unplanned. So there are a lot of avenues, there are a lot of ways of living that we often choose that are unplanned, purposely accidental, a life that allows accident. Artists know this, You allow for the accidental. You allow for the mistake. Japanese art, Zen art, is based on the accidental, is based on the flaw, where you would create if there was a flaw in the part, or there was a flaw in the wood, you would create the art out of the flaw. You would move with the flaw instead of removing the flaw. I just wrote it was an interesting YouTube today on the restoration of Yellowstone Park by restoring the wolves. So when they introduced wolves back into the park, it changed the whole park, even the rivers, even the whole ecosystem. So the wolves were removed because they were a nuisance. You see, wolves are bad. Get rid of the wolves. And it changed the ecosystem. Put the wolves back and it restored balance. So wolves are accidental in the sense that you can't control a wolf, and yet there is a control. Or accidents then are uncontrolled, but in the larger scheme of your life, there seems to be a purpose to them. The older you get, you see, you can look back on your life and you can see, at least I can see a direction as if my life had been written, was a story, and how the accidental meetings were chapters in my story. All of them are accidental, unplanned, you see. And so, is there a plan to our accidents? Are accidents part of a larger plan? Well, certainly the Yellowstone story, where the wolves that were restored to Yellowstone, first of all, began to thin out the deer. And the deer moved to places where the wolves couldn't get to them. So the deer stopped eating the plants. And when the plants were allowed to come back, the certain types of foliage allowed to come back, that brought in more animals. And the wolves also killed coyotes, and there was more mice than rabbits, so you had more hawks and eagles. And so everything began to restore. And because foliage was returned, the rivers stopped stabilized. And then you had beavers who stabilized the rivers. And the rivers stabilized, and there was no erosion. And so everything, the whole park, the whole system began to regenerate itself when planning was removed. And accidental wolves were introduced, you see. So, is it possible then that if we allow for accidents that our life will become balanced? That we will become at ease? I think this is why I'm into Zen and into spiritual wisdom, is because it's all about allowing for accidents. If you step in dog poop, it's not a problem, it's just dog poop. In other words, there's no difference in stepping in this or that. In other words, everything, accidents are only accidents if we compare them to, it shouldn't be part of our plan. See, if we don't have a plan, then accidents are not accidents. Accidents then become a way to steer. Like sailing a sailboat. The wind is accidental. 1 minute it's going this way, next minute it's going that way. You can just tack with the accidents. You tack with the wind. Now, is that wind I see is a metaphor for grace. So an accidental life is a life in which you tack with the accidents, with the grace, you see. Is not all life accidental? Is not all of nature accidental? Is not the cosmos accidental, you see? Science would say, well, yes, there's no God with a plan. There's no external deity out there with a plan in his head, you see. So God doesn't, from that view, God doesn't plan the world, you see. And so we like to think of ourselves in the image of God, so I must plan my life. I must plan my world. I must prepare and plan and work and slave, you see, and try to figure out every possible way an accident might happen and prevent it. I was in a ride with the Tesla yesterday. A friend came by with a Tesla. And I said, is there a variable in which the Tesla drives itself? At the steering wheel, there's a little button and it goes into automatic, and you can just, look, Ma, no hands, and the Tesla drives itself. And my friend said it took a while to get to trust it, but it's pretty good. And he said, rain, snow, any of the conditions at all, it'll handle it. Traffic, interstate, gridlock, whatever. It's got cameras all around it. It computes the whole thing. And I said, isn't there some variable in which it was not planned for? Certainly. There is a variable, there is a situation which was not planned for that the car can't handle. And he said, well, I haven't found it yet. So that, I as I talk to you about that, I'm thinking now the Tesla is the culmination of a planned universe, a planned car that will eliminate the accidental prone human. So the human is accidental. He can't be trusted. This is like Hal in the 2001 Odyssey. Remember that movie? Hal, the computer, was taking it on the mission, and it decided that the human was expendable because it was imperfect. So it got rid of them. Tried to get rid of the humans, you see, because they were accidental. They were accidental, you see. So I'm just reflecting on this Tesla, not to say wasn't a lot of fun and it's going to be the car of the future, but the idea behind it is to eliminate accidents. So it foresees all variables and counters them, you see. But that's not the way the universe works. There is no way to plan out accidents. There is no way, because the universe is self-generating itself. This is the Eastern view of the universe, is that it is a self-generating organism like Yellowstone. It self-generates. If you stop trying to plan it, if you stop trying to cultivate it, and make it free of any accidents and nuisances like wolves, get rid of them, you see. So if you don't get rid of anything, and you allow life to regenerate itself, you allow for accidents. Accidents are part of the balance of life, you see. They're not to be planned away. They're not bad. They're not to be feared, grieved over. Oh no, he died, he had an accident, you see. Well, word life, accidents have to be incorporated into our life. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. If God's grace is accidental, in the sense that everything that has moved you, everything that has filled your sails and directed your life in an unexpected direction is accidental, then that's grace. The wind that fills your sails is a metaphor for grace. And grace is a metaphor for God. So the wind of grace is accidental. So you have to create a life in which that allows and accepts the accident. And not fears it and plans it out and has all these insurance policies to prevent it, you see, and has all these regulations and laws and preventive measures and everything to remove all accidents from life, you see. Oh, wait, am I a Republican? Anyway, I've been rambling, so I hope this idea and this meditation on accidental gives you a different way of looking at accidents and the accidental life, and that God itself is an accident. Thanks for dropping in.